Hi everybody, this is Lindsay from Winding Road Crochet, and this is the first video in a series showing how to make my basic gnome pattern. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. So in this video, we are going to be making the gnome body, and as we make the gnome body, we are going to be learning a variety of skills that you would use for any type of stuffed animal or amigurumi kind of project. Skills will include how to make a magic circle, how to work in the round, how to increase, how to decrease, and how to work repeats in a pattern. You won't need very many supplies for this project. The supplies you will need will include worsted weight yarn, a size E crochet hook, scissors, and a yarn needle, and definitely something to mark your stitches. One more thing I want to point out before we start our project is that in the video I will give you the pattern, but if you check out my blog, the written pattern is written out a lot longer and a lot clearer and will be better for beginners. So the first thing we're going to need to do is make a magic circle, and my way is not traditional, but it is a way that works very well for me. Take your yarn, and about 5 inches from the end we are going to make a slip knot. The way I make a slip knot is to wrap the yarn around my finger twice, take the loop that is closest to my thumb and pull it over and place it in between the two fingers that you're wrapped around. Take the other loop and pull it all the way off your fingers, and take your yarn end and pull it tight. You can make a slip knot any way you want. That's just how I do it. Put your hook into your slip knot, and now we are ready to make a magic circle. So what we're going to do is take that yarn end and just make a little circle. And here at the top of our circle, you are going to see that we have 2 strands of yarn. We are going to be working single crochets over those 2 strands of yarn. To do this, very carefully pick up your circle, find the point where there are 2 strands of yarn together, and work into that magic loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, and make a single crochet. Again, working over those 2 strands of yarn, we are going to make a total of 6 single crochet for row 1, constantly working into that big circle that we made. So once you made 6 single crochet, what we want to do is take that yarn end and pull it tight. This is why the magic circle is so nice, is because you can get a really tight center. We will weave in that yarn end later. Now we are going to be working in the round. This means we're going to be working in the same direction continuously, not joining the end of our rows. What we're going to do to keep track of our rows is to use a piece of yarn to mark the last stitch of every row. You can of course also use a stitch marker, but for this I'm just going to use a pink piece of yarn. So that is our number 6 single crochet of row 1, our very last stitch of row 1. To start row 2, we will work into the first stitch of row 1. In this row, we will work 2 single crochet into each stitch around. This simply means that we are going to be increasing in every single stitch. So to increase, we'll work 1 and then 2 single crochet into the same stitch. We're going to do this for the next stitch and every stitch of this row. So work 2 single crochet into the second stitch, 1 and 2 single crochet into the third stitch, and do this for the next 3 stitches. So here I've made it to the very last stitch, and that is the one with the piece of yarn. I'm going to work 2 single crochet into this stitch, 1 and 2, and then take a quick moment and move that yarn into the stitch I just made, because that is the last stitch of row 2. So just pull that pink yarn through to mark the last stitch of that row. So now we just continue around, and as we work row 3, we're going to learn about repeats in a pattern. So the idea behind a repeat in a pattern is that we're going to work a series of stitches and then repeat it for a certain number of times. In the pattern written above, you're going to see that it says x6 or times 6. That is because we are going to repeat the stitch pattern 6 times, and we will always repeat it 6 times. For row 3, our stitch pattern is to single crochet in the first stitch and then increase in the second stitch. Remember that increasing is working 2 single crochet into a stitch. Let's repeat that. We are going to single crochet into a stitch and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch. And we are going to repeat this until we've repeated it a total of 6 times. After the 6th repeat, we will end up right at our stitch marker. If you don't, then it's a good chance that you miscounted somewhere. So here I am working my last increase for my last repeat into the last stitch. And I'm just going to move up my stitch marker once again. Remember to move it every single time, otherwise you will lose your place and potentially have to start over. So now, basically what we're doing for the bottom of the gnome is we are making a circle. And the beauty of making a circle is there is a clear pattern to do so. So last time we worked 1 single crochet and then increased. In this row, we're going to single crochet into the first 2 stitches and then work an increase or 2 single crochet into the next stitch. That is our stitch pattern. Again, it is single crochet into the first stitch, single crochet into the second stitch, 2 single crochet into the third stitch, and simply repeat that a total of 6 times all the way around. You'll end up right at your stitch marker. So here I am at the end of row 4, and again I'm just going to move up my stitch marker. And then we are going to move to row 5, and row 5, at this point you might be catching the pattern, but it's not really going to surprise you. We are going to single crochet into the first 3 stitches and then work an increase into the 4th. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3 single crochets, and then 2 single crochet into the 4th stitch. That is our stitch pattern for this row, and we are going to repeat that a total of 6 times all the way around this row. So we finished up our row 5, we've moved up our stitch marker, and now we are on to row 6. Again, last row we did 3 single crochet and an increase. This row we are going to do 4 single crochet and increase into the 5th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 2 single crochet into the 5th stitch. That is our stitch repeat for this row. So you just repeat this a total of 6 times. 4 single crochet and an increase. Repeat it all the way around for row 6. Again, here we are at the end of row 6. We've worked all 6 repeats, and now for row 7 we're going to work 5 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then an increase or 2 single crochet into the 6th stitch. That is our stitch repeat, and we're going to repeat it a total of 6 times all the way around our project. We're at the end of row 7 here. Now it is time to do row 8. In row 8 we are going to single crochet into the first 6 stitches and then work an increase. And this is our last increase row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and increase or work 2 stitches into the 7th stitch. So a very similar pattern to all the other repeats. Repeat this 6 times until you reach the end of the row. So I have made it to the end of row 8, and now for row 9 through row 20, it's going to be super simple. We're going to be adding height to our gnome, and to do that we're just going to single crochet in every stitch around. So we are going to single crochet in the next 48 stitches, or easier, every stitch around. And then when we reach the very end, we will move up our stitch marker and repeat that row until we have a total of 20 rows. So here I am at the end of row 9, working a single crochet in each stitch around, and once I reach my last stitch, I just move up my stitch marker. There we go, and then repeat that row. And so again, just single crochet in each stitch around and continue repeating it until you have a total of 20 rows. Now I have several gnome patterns, and one of the things that I do during my gnome patterns is that I work part of those rows in one color, and then I change my yarn and work part in another color. So this is my little scientist gnome, and he has gray pants and a blue shirt. I also have my Santa gnome, which is coming out very, very soon, or may be out by the time you watch this. And he has red and then 2 rows of black, and the rest of the rows are in red. And you can find out which rows to change colors by looking at the pattern. So here I have finished row 20, and you can see how we've created our circle, and then we've added nice height to our gnome. And I did use a stitch counter to keep track of my rows. That's one easy way to do it. But if you do lose count, just come to the very beginning and count your rows up. It's not that hard to do. And it is pretty common that you are going to lose count while you do this, unless you use a stitch counter or something similar. So from here, we just have 2 more rows to work. But in these rows, we are going to be decreasing, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it. But first, our stitch pattern for this one will be to single crochet into the first 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3 single crochet, 4, 5, and 6. Now we are going to decrease over the next 2 stitches. So single crochet 2 stitches together. To do that, insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Insert your hook again, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Working into those 2 different stitches, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. This is the easiest decrease for beginners and what I would recommend you use. But if you're a little bit more advanced at crochet, we are going to show another decrease. So I want you to single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then either work the beginner's decrease, or you can try this invisible decrease. To do this, we are going to insert our hook only into the front loop of the next stitch. Then we are going to twist our hook around, so just right into that front loop. Twist your hook around and insert your hook into the front loop of the next stitch. All right, yarn over and pull your loop through those 2 stitches. Now we are going to yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. This creates a virtually invisible decrease. Use whichever is easier for you and makes you happy with the project. Again, continue our repeat from here. Single crochet in the next 6 stitches and decrease. Repeat that until you reach your stitch marker. So for row 22, we are going to continue our repeats. This time we are going to work 5 single crochet and then single crochet 2 together, or that could also be referred to as decrease. It just depends on your pattern. So we've worked 5 single crochet, and now to do our decrease, I'm going to do the invisible decrease, going up through those front loops of both stitches, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That is the invisible decrease. And then again, just repeat that all the way around a total of 6 times. Once you complete row 22, you can remove your stitch marker. This is technically row 23, but all we are going to do is work a slip stitch. So I'm going to go through the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through the loop on my hook. Again, through the back loop, pull up a loop, pull the loop through my hook. These are 2 slip stitches and they just smooth out the edge of my project. Now I'm going to clip my yarn over, and pull through the loop on my hook to create a little knot. So the only thing we have left to do is to weave in our ends. So take a yarn needle and the end of your yarn, we're going to thread it in the needle, and then just take that needle and run it under a few stitches. Pull that yarn through, turn so that you're facing the other way, and run it under a few stitches again. Pull it through, turn one more time, run it under a few of the stitches, and then pull it into the body of your project and clip it off. Now the starting yarn end is actually tucked into the body of the gnome, and so I'm not going to bother weaving it in. But here's your gnome body. Make sure to check out the other videos in these series to learn how to make the other basic parts of the gnomes. This basic series covers parts of the gnomes that's used for pretty much all of my gnomes, and then later I will do other video series on the other gnomes and their special features. Please let me know in the comments which gnome you'd like to see a video for the most. And as always, thank you so much for watching.